No, the son had 6 guns. Kip had collected 6 guns. Several of them his father had bought for him. Even though the father had an anti-NRA, anti-gun stance officially, he had some guns.
Okay.
And Kip had secretly collected others. So he shot his father in the back of the head while his father was just having a cup of coffee in the kitchen. And then he waits for a few more hours for his mother to come home. She pulls into the downstairs garage. It's kind of a split level. He goes down to meet her and helps her with the groceries that she's bought from the Albertsons. And she's going up the stairs in front of him, and he's got the handgun in his pocket now. And he says, "Mom, I love you." Shoots her in the back of the head. She falls down the stairs, and he shoots her 5 more times to make sure that she's dead.
I gather we know most of that from his taped confession or discussion of the crime.
Yeah, plus the forensics looking at the scene and determining what was correct.
All right, so that's the day before the school shooting.
Yes.
So
now he spends the entire evening with his parents both dead. He's covered them with sheets. The mother in the garage, the father he's dragged from the kitchen into the bathroom. And he gets on the phone with friends, and he talks to several friends. Meanwhile, one of the teachers who's especially worried about this situation, him being arrested with a gun and released, the English teacher, Mr. Rowan, calls up several times, "I'd like to speak to your father." "Well, my dad isn't here, family business," and other excuses. The LCC class where the father's supposed to be teaching, those students call up. "Bill Kinkel has never been late in his life. To not show up is extraordinary." "Well, he's got a problem and he won't be coming tonight." And he just very easily handles all of these calls, talks to friends, talks to a girlfriend, and finally in the morning, with very little sleep, eats a bowl of cereal, puts all his guns in the car, his mother's car, puts on a trench coat, the regulation clothing for any school shooter, and drives to Thurston High, arrives about 8 a.m.
And begins shooting.
Not right away. He's walking down the corridor, and he sees a couple of his friends, and he says, "You better not go to school today." And they say, "Kip, you going to do something crazy?" And he just turns forward, and they've never seen this look in his face before. The boy that he knows best stops the others and says, "We better stop," and they run the other way. A few minutes later, Kip meets a student going the other way in the hallway and shoots him in the back of the head. Actually, he shoots, but the gun doesn't fire. And instead of thinking this could be one of those moments that, wait a minute, what am I doing? Yeah. He cocks the gun and fires again, and it does shoot. That was Ben Walker. And then he proceeds a little bit further toward the cafeteria. Another student, Ryan Atterbury, is just coming out, minding his own business. He doesn't even hear the previous shot. It's so noisy. And he shoots Ryan on the side of the head. Ryan recovers later, very lucky, and is very happy individual today, very well adjusted, and he's thankfully gotten over that. But when Kip goes into the cafeteria, he immediately starts shooting from a 50-round clip. And it's a semi-automatic weapon, which he has adjusted in some ways as well. He was pretty smart about weapons and explosives. And he shot until he had almost emptied the clip, and he did execute one other student directly, shooting him in the head. 25 students were wounded. It's a record. There's never been that many.
25 students wounded and 2 killed.
2 killed.
And both parents.
And both parents.
All right. What's unique about that series of events as compared to other school shootings?
Good question.
And I'm going to just guess that the way he dealt with his parents, I mean, there's something particularly perverse about killing your parents, spending the night with them, and still having the mental state that allows you to go out and take on an even greater crime.
Right.
So,
I mean, a little bit nervous he was on the phone, but that's about it. It is an extraordinary story, and that's why I felt a book had to be written about it, because there were no other school shooters in history who, even till now, who killed both their parents and then killed students at school. Now, in my first chapter of the book, I will say, I do talk about 5 other school shooters who may have killed one parent and done a school shooting. In one case, a young man before Kip killed both parents and his 2 younger sisters, went to the school intending to do a school shooting, but didn't go through with it. So there are some comparisons, but it's very, very rare. These are only 5 out of over 200 school shooters. On the other hand, if we go back to the very first school shooting in August 1st, 1966, Charles Whitman, Texas Tower. It was a campus shooting.
Texas
Tower. Remember that?
Remember it well.
Okay, and he killed, I believe, I'm not sure, I think it was 15, it could have been 18. But before he went up to that tower and started sniping, shooting people with his high-powered rifle, first he killed his wife, and then he killed his mother. 2 crime scenes. And again, with Sung Hee Cho. He didn't kill any parent or relative, but
that's
he did
the Virginia Tech.
The Virginia Tech shooter. There was 2 crime scenes. First, he went to that dormitory, and he did a shooting there, and 2 people were killed. And then he did the major scheme. So this idea of 2 crime scenes is not entirely unusual, which is a reason why Virginia Tech, when they had a crime scene, they didn't have a killer, they didn't have a weapon, should have locked down that university, as hard as it might have been to lock it down.
Let me go back for a second. We're talking about 2 crime scenes, but what somehow adds to it is the time between the 2 sets of crimes in the Kinkel case.
Yeah.
And the circumstances, to be in the house you live with your parents, to dispatch them, to spend the next 8 or 10 or however many hours it is in that same vicinity, and then to
It's, yeah, pretty macabre.
It is.
But when he was asked what was on his mind, what was he thinking? Why did you kill your parents? Did you kill them because you hate them or you love them? And he said it was because he loved them, because he wanted to protect them from being embarrassed. You see, they knew that Kip was acting out a lot. They knew he was a brat. He kicked holes in the walls, he had tantrums, and they were constantly being embarrassed by him, because Kip had an older sister, and she was perfect in the sense. I mean, she was a high achiever, good at sports, good at academics, and she did everything right. Kip wasn't good at much of anything, except building bombs, but they didn't really know about that. They knew something about it, but not much. But they knew he acted out, and he used that acting out, that embarrassing them, to control them and get what he wanted. So when he wanted a gun, his father thought, well, it could be, you know, like, if he didn't have it, it would be forbidden fruit, and he'll get it secretly, so I'll buy it for him, but I'll train him how to use it. We'll go together to lessons. And then he wanted a bigger gun and a better gun, and the father kept giving in. And the way Kip would get his way is these tantrums and by embarrassing his parents, who were very aware of their standing in the community and among their peers. They wanted to keep that reputation. So when Kip said, I killed my parents to stop them from being embarrassed by what I had done, being arrested for having a gun in school and expelled, I don't believe that completely. I think what he really meant was, I killed them to stop them from being embarrassed for what I was about to do. He knew he was going to do that school shooting, and he had planned it ahead of time. I know this because I held his diary in my hands, and I read what he said about intending to go to the school and to kill people there.
And it was set up.